Hi everybody, it's Brittany and welcome back to Book Birdie. Today I decided to do the BookTube Newbie Tag. I have actually done this before, but that was back in 2020 when everything was shut down for COVID. That's when I originally was going to start this channel, and I put out like 2 videos and then everything went back to, not normal, but everything opened back up, and you kind of get busy, and I just didn't stick with it. So this time I am trying to stick with it. I decided to just do it again. It's been 3 years, so some things may have changed. I just thought it'd be easier to connect with more people. So number 1 is, why did you start this channel? So like I said, before I started this channel, I wanted to connect kind of with more people that read books, because there are not a ton of people around me. My mom likes to read and my dad likes to read, and everyone kind of has a different genre as well. So it's cool to be able to like connect with some of my family with a certain genre and then another friend with a different genre. But even still, it's a little bit restricted. It's not as many people. I think it would be more fun to be connected in the community. Plus I loved watching BookTube growing up, ever since I discovered it, which I don't even know, probably at the beginning of when BookTube kind of started. And so it's been years now and I still love it. So it'd be cool to be a part of it. Number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? There are a couple of different things that I think would be interesting that are different and a bit unique. I am a pilot, so I like to travel. I like to go to different places, and I always thought that would be cool to incorporate into a BookTube where, you visit different bookstores and you go to different countries and kind of just integrate travel into the reading experience, because it's always like, usually people when they travel, they bring a book. I feel like that's like a thing, especially if you're going to like a, I don't know, beachy vacation type of thing. A lot of people will read a book as well, or on the plane they read a book or watch movies. But I do like to incorporate it with the traveling, and I think that would be a cool thing. I also like to, I like to watercolor. I like to crochet as well, so that's always something that I can bring in and kind of implement it in with reading, because I like to listen to books while I do that in the first place. Number 3 is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I think the most excitement comes from just being a part of the community. Like I said, there's people around me that read, but it's nicer to be part of a community where you can read books together, and like you can meet people from across the world as well, which is really, really cool. And I'm excited to be, a part of that and have a bigger group of people who like to read just as much as I like to read. Number 4 is, why do you love reading? I love reading because of, I'm sure as everyone will say, the escapism is probably the best reason to read. I also like to read to feel something. I feel like that's like the main reason that people read, and so that's why books don't get good ratings. In my opinion, you don't give a book that just makes you feel nothing whatsoever a good rating. You just won't do it. It's all about feeling something, whether it's sad, happy, regardless of what it is, you have to feel something. And so that's usually why you read stuff, and that's usually why you pick the genre that you pick as well. Number 5 is, what book or series got me into reading? I don't really know if a book or a series got me into reading. I think actually it was my parents that got me into reading. My mom used to read books all the time when I was little, and I think I wanted to like emulate that. And I remember my dad used to buy me these fat books. I don't know where he got them. They were probably like 25 cents. And it would be like Lassie and Black Beauty, like the fattest of books. And I was in like 1st grade. And he would pay me $1 to read them and tell him about them. So they kind of started that. But if we're going to talk about like a book or a series that really got me into it, it was probably like A Series of Unfortunate Events. I feel like that really kind of got my reading flowing. And then the other one that I always used to read was like that Treehouse one. Do you know what I'm talking about? What is that called? Magic Treehouse. That was another one that I read a lot. Oh, you can buy the whole 12 book set for $55. But I wouldn't say that that's really what got me into reading. I would just say I kind of got into reading because of my parents, and then I figured out what I liked and I would read that. And it was always like my goal to be a higher reading level especially in middle school. I don't know if your middle school is the same as mine was, but you would have to take a test, and then we could only read books that were in our whatever grade we got. So they would like determine your reading level by which grade you were. It was like you would take a test, and say you were in 7th grade, it would be like you're at 3rd grade reading level, 4th grade reading level, up to 12th grade. And if you were up to 12th grade, you could read any book you wanted, any of the books. And if you were below 12th grade, say you were like 3rd grade reading level, you could only read 3rd grade and under. It was the dumbest thing. I don't really know why they limited us like that. Luckily, I loved reading so much and I was determined. It was probably the book Lassie that I read when I was in 2nd grade or 1st. But I do remember trying to read Harry Potter at that time, and I had no idea what was going on. I was like, what is a muggle? Like, the words, I needed to read books with real words because I was so confused. I remember in middle school, I was like, I need to be 12th grade reading level because I need to read these books. And so I worked really hard to get to that level. But thinking back on it, I think that's a dumb thing to do. I mean, I guess. But, like, what if somebody wants to read Harry Potter? I think Harry Potter was a 12th grade reading level. Isn't it a children's book? I'm pretty sure they made it a 12th grade reading level, and that's probably because it's so big. That's dumb. That was dumb. I remember that. That's dumb. Number 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? What questions would I ask them? Probably something about BookTube specifically. I would probably ask, how they find the time to do everything that they do, especially the ones that I watch. They like post all the time. I have no idea how they do it. It's so much work. It is. And that would probably be my top question, is just, how do you fit it all in? And I'm sure over time, I'm sure they would say, it just takes time. You just get better at it, and then you can be faster and upload more videos. Number 7 is, what challenges do you think a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Okay, so I think this goes hand in hand. I think finding the time to do everything is kind of what you have to record and edit and then post, trying to find like the perfect times to post, and you have to do like an Instagram and things. It's just like correlating everything together and making it cohesive, and you have to do it consistently or it's not going to work. And I think that will be the hardest thing to overcome. But I feel like you can only get better the more that you practice. So I think that that's just a thing that comes with time as well. Number 8 is, when did you start reading? I don't know when I specifically started reading, but my mom and dad would always read books to me when I was little, and we would like memorize things. I loved animals, so we had these animal books. I have them somewhere still. They were like hard animal books. I'll put a picture if I can find one, and it would have the animals, and my dad used to like cover up the words. And we used to read all kinds of books. So when did I start reading? I have no idea, but I was definitely read to the point where I could start reading. I remember I used to go into my parents' room at night because I would stay up and read, and I would bug them about like, what does this word mean, and blah, 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 because I just wouldn't sleep. Number 9 is, where do you read? So I kind of read everywhere because I really like audiobooks. So I'll do audiobooks like while I'm driving, while I'm walking, sometimes while I'm working out, sometimes I need music. I'll read while I'm like doing chores. If I'm folding laundry or I'm like vacuuming or sweeping, I'll read then as well. So kind of all over the house basically, and out of the house. But most of the time it's in bed. I typically read like my physical books at night, or I will read my Kindle at night. So typically while I'm going to sleep or when I'm in my bed, I will read. Number 10 is, what kind of books do you like to read? And this is a big question because I like to read, I think, everything. The one thing that I have not quite been able to really enjoy is romance a little bit. Sometimes I like it. I feel like I'm like too picky with the romance. Or something. I don't know what it is. I've been trying to read romance, and it's just not my favorite thing. It's not like where I gravitate. when I go to the bookstore. I don't gravitate to them. And also, cozy mystery has been something that I can't get into either. Typically, when I go into a bookstore, the first thing I do is like new releases for mystery, thriller, murder mystery, those books, or new releases for fantasy. And then usually I kind of go to the fantasy section, sci-fi fantasy section, and kind of peruse for a little bit, and it's right next to the murder mystery section or the mystery thriller section. Fiction, I feel like, is just too broad. I really need to go into the bookstore with the fiction that I have in mind in order to like go into the fiction section, because it's just so big. I don't know what's going on there. So I can usually go to like the mystery thriller and the sci-fi and the fantasy and just kind of look around and pick books, where when I go into just the fiction section, I need to have an idea, because otherwise. I also like nonfiction as well. That one I can just go peruse. So yeah, that is my newbie booktube tag, take 2, 3 years later. I just wanted to do a little bit of a get to know me, kind of get to know what I'm about. That way it's easier for me to make videos from here and you guys know a little bit more about me instead of just going in blind. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!